This is why we're not sleeping, plus the stress. But like, I give you tools that can communicate with us, and he set up sleep to communicate with us. And people don't understand that if they're not getting sleep, they're missing out on hearing from the creator, because he's giving you dreams.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Made to Shine Show. We are in for such a treat. I was just telling this sweet guest before we hopped on that some of my most top rated episodes are episodes where it's the voice of someone who comes at it from the perspective of a mom, of someone that just loves women and young girls and raising them up to be strong and healthy and faithful. And so I am so excited to introduce to the Made to Shine family, Michelle Cuffe. She's a trainer. She's the author of this book, Health Revival: How to Be Happy, Healthy Human and Live to 100. She's a mama of 3 beautiful girls. She has grandbabies. She does it all. She's also in Florida. So, Michelle, welcome to the Made to Shine Show. We are so stoked to have you.
Wow, you were like my hype girl.
I love I'm a hype girl for girls. I love being a hype girl for girls. And you are too. You are too.
Yes, I was talking to you about how my girls are all your age, so right around your age. I have 3 daughters, and they're like in 20s. One is 30. So it's just when I'm talking to you, I feel like I'm talking to one of my girls.
As you should. I always joke these conversations are so fun because it's like having coffee with the friend you just met, but feel like no forever. I'm so excited to dive in. There's so many things to talk about. I was telling you before this, like I've been on my entire life. I've loved health. I've loved the study of health. I've been in sports my entire life. And what I love about your work and your story is it brings together this parallel of faith and health, and how health and science, it's not a deviance from faith. It just points you back to the one who's sovereign over it all. But that doesn't mean we can't take care of ourselves. And so I'm so excited to dive into all those nuances. But before we do have a tradition on this show, which is, Michelle, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh my gosh, my favorite quote.
Hard. I know.
Can it be a Bible verse?
Yes, of course. Everyone, it's funny. That's probably the number one question I get asked on this show. Can it be a Bible verse? And I'm like,
I'm so into that lately. And it's just like,
do it.
I mean, how could I not quote? I just love, and it's such a popular one, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his begotten son. Like, to me, that just is everything. Like, without Jesus, I just don't know what we would be, there'd be no hope for us. So I love that. I'm trying to think, I wish I could have come up with some health quote, but I guess I don't.
No, but I think think about it. I mean, we read that verse, it's cross-stitched on like every pillow in every stubborn house, but you forget what that means.
I know.
And even I was listening to a sermon the other day, and they're like, if you got to the gates of heaven today and God was like, why should I let you in? And your response isn't Jesus and Jesus alone, you should really think about that. If you start listing out why you're a good person, and I think a lot of people think of Christianity that way. You just think we're great people. And it's like, no, it is Jesus and Jesus alone.
Yes.
That I'm here, that I'm sustained. And so I think that's the best quote you could have said.
Absolutely. And when you know he's real for sure, it changes your whole life. So
it does. And you have an incredible story in regards to that, and like how you were a trainer and you met someone named Martha who was kind of trickling in. Would you just start there? Because I think that's where a lot of us are in regards to young people trying to be a force for the kingdom. And I want to get into all the health stuff, but sometimes you feel like it's wasted, like no one's listening to you. So can you tell that story?
So I was married at the time, and I was just not saved at all, had no time for church, had no time in fact, I used to laugh about people that went to church, and I was a good person. I was a great mom, and I was doing all the right things. I was, in a worldly sense, I was fine. Right. Yeah. So I had just gotten my personal training, certificate, had just passed the test. They hired me at this little gym, and I'm kind of walking around trying to get my first client, because it's like, I'm not a good salesperson. So I was kind of shy. I'm just waiting, I was kind of like, they knew I was going to start working there. Well, this lady walks up to me that day, and she's like, and I had seen her there before. She's a little older than me. And she's like, hi, she goes, my name is Martha. She goes, I was wondering, are you ready to train? She goes, would you train me? I was like, oh my God, in my mind, I'm like, yes, thank you. I got my first client. So she does the 8 sessions with me, and we're training, and every session she would bring up Jesus. And you know, I was like respectful, but I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say, because I'm like, oh, that's nice, and I would just kind of brush her off. So I would go home, and I would, at my husband at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, she keeps talking to me about Jesus, and I can't take it. And so she even asked me to dinner one time, and I made up an excuse because I was like, oh, she's going to try to put more Jesus on me, right? So her 8 sessions are up. She signs up again with me, does another 8. Super nice lady, though. I loved her. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward, something major happens in my life, like a few months later, like the kind of thing that I'll just say it. My marriage fell apart.
Mm.
And I was at home just devastated. You're at this point where it's, and a lot of people have been here, where you're going to make either a really bad decision or you need God.
Wow.
So I just
Beautiful way to
kind of
put
like
it.
looked up, and I felt in my spirit something say, call Martha. So I was like,
Mm.
I'm going to call this lady who I have been so I call her up. She tells me to come to her house. Long story short, I'm at her house, and she said, Michelle, I didn't want to sign up with you. She goes, I was on the treadmill, and God said, you see that girl over there? I'm going to cry. He said, I need you to hire her, because I love her, and I want her as my daughter. So she said, you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't listen. She goes, so I hired you for 8 more sessions. And I kept telling God, she's not listening. She's not listening. Well, he set it up. So he set me, and she is still one of my best friends. She is my mentor. I go to Bible study once a month with her. She calls me all the time. I love her. And see, he sent her. She's like, I couldn't figure out why he kept telling me to hire you. She goes, I didn't even want to train her. She's like, I didn't want to train with anybody. She goes, but that was why he knew I was going to need you, or
Wow.
that you were going to need me. So
That's amazing.
you see how amazing he is?
He's so beyond our comprehension. I think
Oh,
what's so
yeah.
cool too is like that this big question I feel like so many young people wrestle with, which is like, can I mess up the plans God has for me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can I? And I think what's cool is how you found Jesus was through an avenue you were always interested in, which was health, working
Right.
out. You were a trainer before, like, Jesus was drawing you.
Right.
Jesus knew Martha was going to be in the gym that day, and he knew you were interested in health. He made you that way. And that avenue is where he eventually met you.
And he gives us all gifts, right? Like, in a
Mm,
sense, I taught fitness classes for years. I'm a teacher. He gives us gifts, and my gift is something related to health,
yeah.
which through all of this stuff that I went through, then I ended up writing this book. And honestly, the book started out, it was just going to be a health book. And of course, we hear that voice, the
Yep.
Holy Spirit, and I felt this tugging to include him in it in
Yeah.
some way. And I was like, oh, and as I was writing that last chapter, that's all about faith and
Yeah.
how God wants us to live,
It's
um,
so good.
which we'll talk about. I just felt like it was just downloaded to me, all of it.
Yeah.
So he definitely wants this message out. This is not a lecture on, this is just, I like everybody just to stop and think about these amazing bodies. Like right
Mm.
now, Annie, you can see, you can hear, you can walk, you can talk, you're thinking, your cells are doing all these things, your organs are working, your heart's pumping in perfect rhythm. I mean, my gosh, that alone is a miracle every day. And it's like he made these perfect bodies. And some people aren't born perfect, some people have disabilities, but you and I don't. So how can I not wake up every day and honor this body he gave me
Wow.
and not treat it with respect and dignity? And
Wow.
we are his creation. He made me perfect, you perfect, in the sense of what he had envisioned for us. So I
Wow.
just want everyone to, gosh, when you wake up in the morning, and if you are healthy and you're walking and talking, thank him. And
Yeah.
what can I do today? What things can I do, which we'll talk about, can I do to honor what he gave me?
That's so I what I love about that is because it's so much more natural for us to think about what we can't do and what we don't.
Right.
or how we don't look. And I think even like with my story as a young girl, I really struggled with an eating disorder. I was prepping for college sports. I was addicted to exercise. It was an unhealthy stress coping mechanism, which I know you read about was kind of similarly
Right.
working out to like feel better. And
Yes.
that led to injury and then overworking out and undereating and then overeating. And like, I think what's so powerful is it's so easy to look at your body as a means. Well, it is a means to an end. Like our end is Jesus, but it's easy to look at it for all that it's not and to
Right.
fixate on what it, like this body part hurts, but you forget to thanking him for all the things that are going well. And I'm
Exactly.
curious for you because what's so fascinating about your perspective and why I enjoyed this book so much is because you have this unique perspective of not being a Jesus follower and loving health, and then being a Jesus follower and loving health. And so before you met Jesus, talk to me about your relationship with your health, what interested you about it, but then what would like, how do you view it now? Like, what was that shift in regards? Because I want to encourage people as believers. I think we fixate so much on the spirit and
Right.
spiritual health, but like the body matters. So, what do you see now in a body through like being a Jesus follower compared to in the past when you weren't?
Well, I think definitely before I came to know Jesus, I think I just was more into like looks, and that might have been because I was younger too.
Yeah.
And I did love exercise and those things, but I didn't, I was very judgmental of my body. I did fitness competitions where you get on the stage all tan and all that stuff.
Oh, wow. Those are tough. I
Yeah,
have
those are tough.
we're all that is that's a hard cookie mentality.
But I was looking at it from like a worldly sense, like aesthetic only, like how I looked only. And that some of that is, I think, being younger. And I think now that I'm older and I'm saved, I see it more as like, what can my body do for me? Or how can I just make it strong so that I can live to 100? Or, I look at and I say, well, God made me this way. I'm I have this thing that looks good, but this doesn't. And I appreciate that. And I realize that we're all unique and different, and we should all just try to love our bodies. And I used to be obsessed with exercise. Like I would deal with all of my stress
Yeah.
through exercise. And now I try not to do that. And I promised him that I would always pray before I went to the gym and
Wow.
not like if I don't sit with him in the morning, I'm not going. That has to happen first. So
Wow.
he's first in my life, and then the fitness is second, or
Mhm.
whatever, or somewhere down the line. I
That's
just think some of it is being saved, some of it is just getting more mature and older. And I think when you get to be like in your 50s one day, you're going to be just your thoughts will be totally different. You'll have gone through menopause. And
yeah.
I just appreciate that my body is working, I think is the point. I'm just
That's so
appreciative.
good. That's so good.
Yeah.
I love what you said about praying before you go to work out. We had a like Olympic soccer player on the podcast Olympic track runner a little while ago. She's so sweet, but she was saying that she tore her Achilles like pretty early on in her career, was told she'd never run again. This was before she went to the Olympics, and her Achilles healed, and she kind of went through this season of it feels fine. I'm being told I will never run again, but it feels fine. And so she started like, it was scary though. She was like, I did
Right.
not want it to rupture again. I couldn't even like walk at, but like she would pray every time before she would go on that track. And she was like, if I did not have the peace of the Lord, I did not go. If I had the peace of the Lord, I would go. I'm curious for you in regards to your health. What there's a balance, right? It's like there's the conversation of making sure to the people that aren't taking care of their health, take
Right.
care of your health. But
Yes.
what would you say? Because I know we talked about this a little bit before. Like in my past, I've been kind of a hypochondriac at times.
Right.
And I'm like, what am I not doing? What doctor am I not seeing that I need to see for a problem that hasn't happened yet, but could happen? And like Googling things. And so for you, both are not good because you can make your health an idol. So what would you kind of speak to or life over to the person that's kind of where I can fall into, which is like hypochondriac, over fixating on health. It's important for me, but not making it your God.
Yeah, I would just I mean and I have been that, like
Yeah.
what you're saying, for a big part of my life. I didn't put it per se before my family, but it was a close second.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of childhood issues that I think exercise for me is how I deal with things. Like
Hmm.
it's how I deal with my stress. So like if some days I don't go to the gym, obviously I can't go every single day. I kind of feel like I'm coming out of my skin. But since I've started a prayer life, I would just say that all of those things we have to give to him and find a way to, because that's what I start with in the book is stress and
Yeah.
how, you know, in the Bible, he tells us 365 times in the Bible, he talks about not to fear or not to have stress. So,
Yeah.
one for every single day of the year. And to me, that is because he knew how much we were going to stress. He
Yeah.
knows as humans what we go through in our emotions. So, I think just a prayer life. And then, of course, the things in the book that I give you that you can do for stress that or nature. Okay, so people will say nature, whatever. Everything's God as far as I'm concerned. Nature is God. Breath work and those kinds of things. Journaling. I'm a big believer in journaling. So maybe writing down your feelings.
Yeah.
And this could go towards food if someone's got food addictions or they're
Yeah.
anorexic or all these things.
Yeah.
God, give it all to God and pray. And he's waiting for you and he will help you with everything.
Yeah.
All of these problems. He's our father. He made us. He loves us. And I
Yeah.
think he's just waiting for us to ask for help sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our health problems are us trying to do it in our own strength.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so good. I'm curious for you, like, I always say it's like your hold your breath moments. You know those moments where you feel like God's in for some people, they may look at your hold your breath moment and be like, that is literally no big deal. For example, missing a workout. In college, I was addicted to running. I mean, if I ran less than 10 miles, I couldn't go to bed because I would be
wow.
shaking, like actual addiction to
I know
running.
how that is. Yep, I get it.
Yeah, and it was brutal. And even like in the years after college, and I'm getting married soon. And so like I had to go back to therapy to navigate. Like I felt like I kind of overcame this workout addiction. But then with the wedding, it's like you're supposed to be in the best shape of your life. And that was a trigger for me. And I had to go. But it's like these hold your breath moments where it's just this little decision like I'm going to run 7. I remember one day I ran 7 miles instead of 10 and it was a massive decision of faith for me. Like I
Yeah,
was like, God, I'm not going to run 10. God, is it going to be okay? And someone might look at that and be like, are you crazy? Like,
I
of
know.
course you're going to be fine. But see, we have these hold your breath moments. I'm curious for you, what you like, what do you practically hold on to? Because that's the essence of faith, right? It's like you have this hold your breath moment, like, am I going to be okay? Is God going to do it? Is he going to deliver me? But you don't know. You don't know what that's like. So in that little gap between taking that step of faith and then like when you actually in retrospect can see God's hand being with you the whole time, what does that look like? Like, what does that middle look like
Oh
for you?
boy. Well, first of all, I'm Cuban, so this us Cuban people, we don't handle things well.
Is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh my gosh, Latin people. If anybody watching this is Latin, they're probably laughing right now because uh, holding our breath, yeah, we are wound up pretty tight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to curse a lot, things like that. I don't do that anymore. I'm telling you, for me to be as calm as I am and not have killed people, because I could be in jail right now.
That
I
is
can
the most relatable thing.
I can assure you that there is a God. Okay. And my sisters are like, what, we're waiting for you to lose your mind. What has
Wow.
happened to you? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
so people have seen the change in me. um
So real. That's real.
I think for me, because I still obviously am the same person, I'm just working on it. I have one big thing I have learned is to keep my mouth shut. Okay, because I'm my mouth open. I always jump the gun and speak
Me too.
and say things I shouldn't be saying. Now I just keep my mouth shut. I wait and I pick up the word and I read the Bible and calm down, right? And I don't know if that's the kind of answer you're looking for,
No,
but
it is.
there was before Michelle, the old Michelle didn't hold her breath. Never. I was
No.
always
I but I think that one, it's a discipline. No one
right.
wants to slow down. Slowing down is not natural for anyone when we're so quick to want to fix situations and
Yes.
figure out what happens. I literally today was in a situation where I thought like I had a lot of medical things in the beginning of the year and I thought something was acting back up. And before I even confirmed the situation, I already made the doctor's appointment. And then my sweet fiance was like, okay, let's have a different protocol. Like if you think, but that can apply to anything. Like if
Right.
you think you're freaking out, your friends mad at you, or you're freaking out your job, like you're going to start applying other positions ASAP, or you're going to jump the gun and have that
Right.
conversation ASAP. And I think it is a discipline. One time a preacher said this, I'll never forget it. He said, when the spirit landed on Jesus, it came in the form of a dove. And if
Right.
you look up, like if you look up right now, what's required for a dove to land on you, it's stillness. You have to be still. And that
Yep.
always hit me like, man, if I want to be guided by the spirit, flailing around like an octopus trying to try it my way is not the MO. Like
Yeah.
I've got to get still, and that's uncomfortable.
I know.
It's
And I tell the Holy Spirit every day, I'm so sorry that you have to be in this body and listen to this mind, because I feel so sorry for him listening to what this nonstop chatter in my head. Okay.
yeah.
I have a hard time. And in my book, I talk about it. The way that God reaches me most of the time is in my dreams. I've had a lot of dreams, prophetic dreams, because
Hmm.
I'm so busy during the day and my mind is so, like, I'm such a wound up person that's
Oh, it
how he
shuts
reaches me.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so everything. And when I first started watching him, like, oh my God, this girl, she's got a lot of energy like me. Like I can see we have the same kind of spirit. Like I know
Yep.
I'm sitting here still right now, but I'm usually like running around like a crazy person everywhere. So, but
Yeah. And it's a gift, but it's also, it can be your greatest Achilles heel. You know what I mean?
yeah. So, but what I wanted to tell you, so as far as the book, most of the book is how to live to 100. Okay. I used to do corporate talks and it was called Happy, Healthy Human. And it's the things we need to do to live to 100. So the way we used to live before we moved into these buildings, we were outside and we are human animals, right?
Mhm.
Which God set this all up, but we have transitioned so quickly into this comfortable life that our DNA has not caught up with the fact that our bodies still think we're supposed to be outside.
Mhm.
So that's why
Wow, that's
you've
good.
seen the explosion of all these chronic diseases and the
Uh,
cancer and the heart attacks, Alzheimer's out of nowhere. None of this is from God. Okay.
yeah.
This is all the enemy. This is, you know, now we're not getting attacked by bears anymore, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But like nobody's outside in the sunshine. We're supposed to be
Yeah.
outside walking, foraging, hunting for animals, drinking nothing but water. So all
Mhm.
of these things have gone awry. So I went by matter, but the steps in my book are by importance. Okay. So
Mhm.
we first tackle stress in your
Yeah.
life, because 70 to 90% of every doctor visit in the US right now is traced back to stress. So
Shocking. I
yeah,
remember reading that, and I mean, what was sad was I wasn't surprised, but
right.
you don't think stress causes inflammation. The root of disease is inflammation of some capacity. You
Right.
know what I mean? Yeah,
Right,
so
because stress before was just, oh, we would see an animal when we were out, in The Chosen, you'll see they're walking the entire time, right? In this
I
series.
love The Chosen.
Me
I was
too.
watching it this weekend. So good.
All they do is walk. So okay, maybe they encountered a wild animal, but then the stress is over. But
Yeah.
now the average American sits in 8 hours of stress a day. So you can see where this is coming from. Then
Yeah.
the second thing is sleep. So God set up sleep in all of our years of human existence, over the thousands and thousands of years. Our sleep has not changed. We need 8 hours of sleep, every single human being,
Okay. Is
every
it
night.
8 hours? I feel like
Well,
that's
seven to nine, depending on your
okay.
activity throughout the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And we've gotten away from that. Nobody's sleeping good anymore. And you know, this is like the pillar of health is sleep, which my book's going to tell you how to sleep better, the tools to sleep. It gives you like what goes on in sleep. When you see what God has set up in our sleep at night, these
Yeah.
waves and what
Well,
he's doing, our body's repairing at night. So all of this is amazing. I just can't believe how amazing he is.
well, and before you go on to the next thing, because I think that's so important, I recently, because of stress, and it's all connected, right? And I realized that for me, I was getting enough time, but it wasn't quality because
Right.
I was so stressed out. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and my mind would be racing, and like I'd go to bed. This was a couple months ago. I would literally go to bed at 9 o'clock, and like I'd shoot to sleep from 9 to 6, but my brain, and I think that's where a lot of us are, is we can't turn it off. But what's so
Right.
cool is if you think about the way sleep's designed, our body does more work when we're subconscious and asleep
Right.
than when we're awake, if that doesn't point back to a God, like
And you know what, Annie? You know why you can't turn it off? You know why? It's because of these things, okay? The computers, the phones. We
yeah,
didn't used to have that. When the sun would go down, we were in pitch black, right? So we would light a fire and we would go to by the campfire and then we go to sleep. So all of these issues are in the book. This is why we're not sleeping plus the stress. But like I give you tools like, turning all the lights off in the house, like starting maybe at around 6, like dimming everything, getting rid of your electronics, winding down, taking a bath. You need to eat earlier than you think so that your body's, some people eat and then they try to go right to sleep and you can't do that. And
yeah,
also sleep is where God can communicate with us, and he set up sleep to communicate with us. And people don't understand that if they're not getting sleep, they're missing out on hearing from the creator because he's giving you dreams.
that is so well said. I never even thought about it like that, but yeah, I mean, I think if anything, that the enemy is, I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day. They're talking about the enemy and demons and how they love technology. But you think like what steals you from sleep is
Right.
typically technology, and it's not. It's do you know who Mel Robbins is?
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, of course. She was talking about this, and she had somebody on there. It's like it's called teenager syndrome or something, but it's essentially as if like you or me, when we get in our bed at 9 o'clock, it's a rebellion.
Right.
It's like I haven't had a second to myself all day because my kids or my boss, whoever. So I'm just going to scroll because it's me time. But then you're doing it for 3 hours and you miss out on the chance to hear from dreams from the Lord. Like
I
that is
know.
a crazy reality of our day. But what I love about your book is it's not. I think sometimes these conversations can turn into, okay, the way we used to live is so much better. We're doomed. But instead, you take this approach of giving practical examples on how it's like, okay, the way we used to live was the way we were designed, like Adam and Eve in the garden, obviously, but there was sin into the world. There was a fall. We are living in a world with technology. We are living in a world with lights and light bulbs. It's not about ignoring that and going all caveman. It's
But it's
how do
trying to
we
merge the two.
merge the two? I guess, like,
Right.
because the other side of that conversation, though, is sometimes I feel like people can get discouraged because
Right.
there's so much you can do. And so, I guess speaking to the person that, of course, getting your book, reading it all. And I love how you said the last chapter is about the Lord. But this whole book points back to the creator of a
Yes.
body.
I mean, the whole book is,
And
is him.
it's so good. It's so practical. What would you say, like, is it gonna be different for everybody, or is there like really one big thing someone who wants to work on their health, their stress levels, all of that could do today, taking away?
Well, one easy tip is the only thing we were given in nature is water. So the average American right now is only drinking 8 ounces of water a day. 1 out of 5 kids get 0 water per day. So we
Wow.
should be drinking about 100 ounces of water every day. Okay.
Wow.
So one big shift is to move from 8 ounces to 100 ounces. Now you can have other stuff
Is that
like
a gallon? I can't do math. Is
it's
that a gallon?
it's 3 of those liter bottles, 3 of them. I
Oh,
don't
like
think
the
it's like
3
that. Yeah. So it's
Okay.
3 of those a day, which seems like a lot, but it's not that much. But if you do that, you'll notice that things that you thought were something else is just because your body's chronically dehydrated and your cells are
Mhm.
screaming for water. Your cells can't work properly if they're dehydrated. So
Yeah.
it'll show up like puffiness, your joints ache, you don't sleep well, you're holding on to water, your knees hurt, everything's hurting and aching, you have headaches. This is all dehydration, okay? So
Wow.
that's an easy one, and you can read all about water. And then this I'm
Well,
gonna
this is there. I want to hear, but like, I love how you mentioned, like, literally, you guys, she gives scripture to back up everything she says in the last chapter. It's so powerful. But about water, you're like, the world started with water. Like,
yep,
it started with the spirit
water.
was hovering above the waters. Like, it's just the cool. I've never heard.
We are 65% water. Our brains are like 75%, I think. And guess what? The
Yeah.
earth is 65%. He made the earth and us in the same shift of water. Water is very important to God. Water could be death, like Noah. It could be it's life, it's baptism. It's, when he first talks about the Garden of Eden, you're hearing about these 4 rivers flowing in, which
Yeah.
is which kind of relates to the 4 thoughts that go in our minds. It's all very beautiful and
That's
biblical.
so cool.
And water is, you go to the beach and you look at the amazing ocean, what does that do for you? You immediately are at peace, right?
Mm.
God uses water so much, and that's what he wanted us to drink, is just water. He didn't want us to drink anything else. So if we can get closer back to water and less of the sugary stuff, like the frappuccinos and the this and the that, liquid sugar is literally killing us as a
Do
society.
you only drink water?
I drink coffee,
Um,
but and I will not lie, might have a sip of wine once in a while. I I cannot tell you why.
You just said my blood is
Well,
wine.
I only do it because Jesus liked it, okay?
That's what Jesus would like it. He liked the
But I'm
wine.
not a big drinker, and I do have a whole chapter on alcohol just to
You
kind of,
turned water into wine. So
yes.
wine comes from your water principle.
But I definitely drink my 100 ounces every day. And now I'm at the point where, like, if I get in the car and I forgot my water, I freak out because I like to have water with me at all times.
I am so the same way. I love how practical we're getting here because I used to hate water. I genuinely I joked with my family I was allergic to water. When I was a college tennis athlete, this is so gross. This is so gross. I was superstitious. I never drank water during my matches. And when I was done, I would go drink milk. Milk. I was drinking milk. And that was my thing. It was so weird, but it was my quirk. I never drink water. And it's so funny because now I am bullish. I drink like 4 or 5 of these a day.
Yeah, that's great.
And
That's
if
why your skin
I
looks so good.
well, thank you. If I leave it, I will go to a store to buy water. It becomes a habit. It
Yeah.
becomes like a discipline, eventually becomes a desire. And that's what I love about how you portray in this book. It's like small, simple things, but make massive results, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's so cool.
And then, of course, the next big thing on the list is food, which
Yes.
is the problem for everybody, is what do I eat? You hear about this diet and that diet and all carbs and carnivore and vegan and this and that. But if we can just make this simple, what did God give us on this planet? Okay, so he set this up perfect. He put stops in all of our food. Okay, you cannot overeat a steak. Okay, you
Mhm.
cannot overeat broccoli. You can't overeat carrots. You'll have a diarrhea. You'll have a stomach ache. You can't overeat blueberries. All of the foods that God made have stops in them. Okay. And
Wow.
he gave us the herbs, the spices, everything that he gave us is health. Okay. So if you can just move 80% of the time, and the list of the foods is in my book, the
Yeah.
perimeter of the grocery store, okay,
Yeah.
is you will have a transformation in your health,
Yeah.
okay? And then, God never talked about seed oils, but seed oils is a big problem. And those are like,
Oh,
vegetable
yeah.
oil, corn oil, that's killing everybody, that's making everybody inflamed.
Yeah.
And if you could just move to like olive oil, avocado oil, those kinds of good oils, and grass fed butter. But the food thing is, he set it up, and again, you watch The Chosen, you watch what they're eating. You can go watch the series; it's amazing. I should be their spokesperson, but you can see how they're eating. They're eating all of nature's foods. So, in one ingredient food, you go to the grocery store, an apple's an apple, broccoli's broccoli, a steak is a steak, chicken's chicken. There's no confusion when you
Yeah.
go down the aisles and you start picking up boxes and packages and
The
frozen.
ingredient list is like a novel. Yeah.
Just listen to the Holy Spirit say, really, really, is that what you're going to buy today? Because I didn't make that. Okay,
Wow.
what did he make? So stick with that 80% of the time. Yes, you're going to want to have birthday cake. Yes, you want to celebrate. Yes, you want to have those things. And then I will go into why I believe gluten is not what it used to be in Jesus's time. They have changed it. Okay,
Mhm.
it's making us
Yeah.
sick. You can make that decision, but I don't do wheat, and I don't do cow's milk.
I don't either.
I
Yeah.
only do goat or sheep dairy. It's closer to our size. And I'll explain all that in the book. Cow's milk is super inflammatory. The way that they process it and the things they do to it before, when you get it in the store, if you gave a calf the milk from the grocery store, it would die. Okay. Cow's milk is meant to get a 90-pound calf to 900 pounds as fast as possible. Okay. So when people are drinking all this milk that we're told is healthy, it's not. It's making us heavy, and it's causing us inflammation. So
Wow. Wow.
That's
That
something
is
different
good.
that, isn't in the Bible, but you'll have to make your best judgment on that.
Well, I love it, but I think it's so cool though. Is like I'm sure a lot of these are principles you've known
Right.
for a while, but then like it's almost like when you're like going back to the premise of what we were talking about in the initial part of this conversation, like people believers, which are probably most of the people tuning in, like there is this emphasis on spiritual health, which of course, but we also were given a body, a temple for our spirit to live in.
Yes.
So you can't say, well, I'm just focused on my spirit and like completely treat your body like trash. And that doesn't
Exactly.
mean it has to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection, but it does mean like looking at the context of how God initially created the world. I have never heard it put that God put stops on food that he's made. I
Yeah.
never thought, but yeah, like when I have chicken, if I have unlimited grilled chicken, I naturally just am like, no, at
Yeah,
some
you'll eat like 6 ounces of chicken, and you're like so full, like a
I'm
steak.
so full,
You eat
so full.
6 ounces of steak as a female, we're like, I can't eat anymore,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
but you could eat
you
like
throw
an
a side of
entire bag of
vegetables.
potato
Yeah,
chips, like an entire
yeah,
bag of Lay's potato
right.
chips can be hungry in 2 hours. You know
Right.
what I mean?
By the way, we're human animals, so we are programmed to see food and want to eat it all and then not move. Okay, that's in our DNA. So when you see a
So
pizza
much
come through the
sense.
door and you want to eat that whole pizza, that's not your fault. That's in your DNA. You just have to try to make better choices, okay?
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
humans are very lazy. We
Yeah,
are super lazy, and now because we don't have to go out and hunt for our food anymore, which
yeah,
I'll talk about in exercise, now we don't even want to go to the grocery store. We're calling Uber Eats. This is how lazy we've become. Where
yeah,
we used to have to get our butts up. If we wanted to live, we had to go walk and find water and food.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
think about, Annie, how selfish we are that Jesus didn't have a grocery store to go to. The man had to walk around. He didn't even have a bed, okay? But
Yeah.
we're so selfish that, like, the other day I was complaining in my head because I had to go to Walmart. I hate going to Walmart, but I like the prices. And I
I love
and I
them.
pulled up and I could hear the Holy Spirit going, "Well, are you lucky that you can go to Walmart because, it's easy." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so lucky I can just drive to Walmart whenever I want and go get whatever I want."
Yeah,
But, if we just need to shift our mindset to gratitude and to, gosh, God gave us these foods.
yeah,
Okay, maybe today I'm going to have some eggs instead of a bagel or instead of a piece of coffee cake. Well,
yeah.
eggs are amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I think it's this balance of, and what I love what you do with this book is it is this balance because sometimes there is gratitude in options. There's also a lot of hardship in options. Like sometimes
right,
when there's so many options, it makes things harder. Whereas
right,
when availability is scarce, you kind of just have a I'm grateful for what I get method. And
right,
versus like when there's, well, I could do this, I could do this, I could do lemon pepper chicken, I could do barbecue chicken. It's like there's so many things. And so
right.
it impacts our gratitude because then the weight of the options clouds us from being grateful for the options in the first place. And so
Exactly.
I love how you say, and like exercise, I want to get to that too, because well, and community, I know you read about community. I think what's interesting about what you were just saying in regards to quickly being able to order meals, that also impacts community. Like
Yes.
it's so much easier to I just want food by myself. I don't want to go anywhere to get it. But if you did have to go somewhere to get it, chances are you would see people, meet people, commune with people.
And cooking your own food, to me, I cook all of my food. I cook all my meals. I go out to eat sometimes, but
Yeah.
usually I'm sick the next day because I'm so used to my clean
Yeah.
eat.
I'm the same way. I'm the
Yeah.
same way.
So
Yeah.
I think cooking is just a beautiful thing too with your family, but being in control of your food is the best thing because these restaurants, I'm telling you, I don't care how fancy they are, they're cooking with horrible stuff,
Awful.
and it ruins your gut. And also in the book, I talk a lot about the gut brain connection that God has also done beautifully. Our brains and our guts are connected. So if your gut is all messed up, it's going to affect your brain. You'll get Alzheimer's. When you get butterflies in your stomach, that's coming from your brain to your gut. When you are sick to your stomach, all of these things is connected. Everything's connected. It's so beautiful. But exercise is in this. I talk about how we used to forage for food. So that was foraging was consider walking. Okay. So 10,000 steps a day is a great number if you can reach it every day, because walking is just
So that
amazing.
is a good number. Like I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes it's thrown around. It like caught a lot of wind as a trend. Like
Well,
10
it
days.
came from a Japanese marketing firm. They came up with it years ago to get their people to move more, and it stuck. Okay. So there's no science behind this number, but all the longevity experts love it. They feel like anything over 5,000 steps, you get years added to your life. So if you can get 10,000, you're great. And then the hunting piece, obviously, we had to hunt for food at times. We had to chase down an animal. So this is called HIIT training now, high intensity interval training. You want to try to do a HIIT training workout 3 times a week. And, I could sit here and talk about that. We don't have all that time to talk about what that entails, but it's basically a burst, rest kind of workout. It's weight training. It's a cycling class. It's, throwing a wall ball, doing the rower, these kinds of workouts where you're really hitting that heart rate.
Yeah,
That's what you want to do to kind of, you know, shock the body a little bit, because that's how we used to do it back then.
that's
Okay.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
And
It's
and just, you drink water, you eat the way you're supposed to eat, you move your body like I'm telling you. I mean, our bodies were meant to live 100 years. We have telomeres, which I talk about, which is science geeky stuff. But telomeres are these little caps on the end of our DNA. And telomeres were discovered by a woman named Elizabeth Blackburn. When they look at the telomeres, they're giving us 100 years, these telomeres. But all of these things that we're doing to ourselves are shortening them way before their time. And our life expectancy now is only like 77. So we're missing all of those years, right? And
yeah.
I think that, God and Jesus heals. Yes, they do. They perform miracles. They heal people all the time. But I'm sure that if we could just not let ourselves get in those situations, it would be a big help, you
Yeah.
know, and,
Yeah.
we can prevent a lot of the things that are going on right now.
That's
And, I talk about saunas, which isn't biblical, but, that's another big thing that's in the longevity field, that saunas are shown to help people live longer. And that's just getting weirdly uncomfortable, sweating like we used to. I live here in Tampa, Florida. I take a walk every day at the hottest point in the day on purpose,
yeah.
because it sucks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's a term called the pursuit of comfort. And that's what Americans are doing. We're pursuing comfort. We want to
Yeah.
sit in 70 degrees all day in the air conditioning, and we don't want to move. It's killing us. We've got to get uncomfortable. We've
I
got to sweat.
love.
We've got to
Yes.
move. We've
Yes.
got to
I love it.
take care of our bodies that God gave us as a gift. Every day is a gift. When you are fit and strong and you get this, once you get it, it's kind of like once you believe in God, you can't turn it off. You
Yeah.
just see your body in a different way, and it's such a beautiful miracle, I guess is what I want to say.
But I think, well, even the way you're articulating it, like, I think what's so special about all of this is it's all connected. Like, even
Yes.
all throughout scripture, like, maybe getting out of your comfort zone isn't something God said, but he said it through the way he prompted people out of their comfort zones time and time again.
Right.
Anybody in scripture that saw God more. I read something the other day that was talking about the enemy, and like the enemy's greatest tactic for this generation is comfort. Like
Yeah.
the enemy wants us to be,
Right.
because when we're comfortable, we don't see God. Because when
Yeah.
we're comfortable, we see the same thing. We put God in a box that we're comfortable with.
Yep.
And it really is like, I think about the story of Job. He lost everything and saw God. I
Right.
think about Peter. He got everything he wanted with all the fish on his boat, but he still was like, no, but I want you, not all these fish. I want you,
Right.
God. And it's like, that was uncomfortable for him too. And
Right.
I think when you wrestle with that, and you face it, like you said, do not fear 365 times. Do not fear also, do not fear change. Do not fear getting out of your comfort zone. Like God knows that's scary for us, but that's where we see him. And when you do that with your body, I know personally, it makes you go into work better. It makes you be a better friend, for in my case, a better fiance. Because I'm like, I'm not afraid of taking faithful risks. I'm not
Right.
afraid. I'm not limiting myself or God into this box of like, this is what I can do and that's all I can do. And especially women with strength. I love you talk about HIIT, because I feel like we are now better about the conversation, but it was just cardio, cardio, cardio
Right. And
all
you'll
the time.
when you get to be my age, when you hit menopause, cardio all of a sudden quits working, because what actually cardio is doing is further depleting your hormones when we're already depleting them, right? So that's
Yeah.
why strength training when you get into perimenopause is so imperative. And it's a really good conversation that now is coming out. Women need to strength train, but women should strength train at your age. Like
Yeah.
God gave us these muscles. He gave us, we're supposed to have, I love what's the Simon Peter on The Chosen, those arms he has.
Oh,
You know,
he has great arms.
I
They
mean,
both
he's
are
the
banging
actor, obviously the actor. I don't know his real name, but he's got these biceps, and I'm always
Fisherman
like,
arms.
oh, and not in a weird way, but I'm like, oh my God, his arms are beautiful.
The great
But
arms.
that's how they used to look back then because all they were doing was lifting heavy things and walking and, all those things. But we're supposed to have, a certain look to us. Not that you can be heavy and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not the way God meant us to be. Like
Yeah.
he didn't set it up that way. The way he set it up is for us to be healthy, thinner versions where it's easier for us to move around. And, you never want to carry an extra 30 pounds around. He didn't want that for us,
Yeah.
and,
It's
and those kinds of things. And then, I kind of finished the book with, so the most important thing out of the entire book is faith, family, community, and tribe. If you
yeah.
don't have those four things in your life, nothing matters. Okay. So if you think you've got everything down, but you have no faith in anything, you have no family, you have no community, you're going to die way sooner than someone who smokes, probably. Okay. So I touch on this at the end about what faith is, what family is in God's eyes, what community is in his eyes. That's the church and the tribes. I mean, God set up the 12 tribes of Judah. It's also biblical. Everything he does comes back around. And it just is this beautiful circle of all of the things that we can do for ourselves, to live for so you want to live for your husband, you're going to have kids, you want to live and be healthy for them, and you're way ahead of the game because you're already thinking of all these things. And one of the things I'm so happy that I showed my girls was fitness, because they always used to tell me, you're not like the other moms, but like I think it bugged them. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you're not like so and so down the street who bakes cookies all day. But I think maybe when they were young, it kind of was annoying, but now they all have picked up working out and they love it. And I think they kind of think that it's nice that their mom is in shape and she works out. Like it was a good thing to show them as they were growing up. Right.
So good.
So
I can contribute to that too. Like so much of my sister and I, who came into the apartment again, Made to Shine family, she interrupted another podcast
I
too.
love your sister.
I'm like, why don't you stay? Just be the Made to Shine co-host. But we're a big working out family. But what I love about my mom is that I feel like, and again, I'm not a mom, so I will never speak from the perspective of pretending like I have ever been a mom. But
Right.
I've seen from my friends growing up, a lot of moms almost feel like they had to be martyrs for their children, like give up their health, their life, whereas what I loved about my mom, not to say she wouldn't sacrifice for us, she'd sacrifice anything, but she was very much a model for us on like how she wanted the habits she wanted us to pick up on. So
Right.
yeah, my mom, her workout was non-negotiable. Like, I mean, if it was an emergency, she would drop anything for us, but we saw her prioritize her health and prioritize her dreams as a career woman and like all these things. And now as a 27-year-old, I mean, I'm not her. I could never be her. She's so amazing. But like, I do emulate a lot of those habits because she showed them to me.
Right.
And so that's so cool. You've given your daughters the same. And I think that, when we think about community and health, it's one, it is the habits that your kids are watching. But two, I know from personal experiences of like being injured or being sick, when you're sick, it is really hard to think of other people.
It
Like,
is.
all you can think about is yourself. And sometimes because you have to, you're in survival mode, you have like the flu or something. But think about chronic, like
Yeah.
obesity or things that are diseases, that little decisions like this, instead of thinking about it as like, hey, it's selfish to take care of yourself, it's like, hey, I'm taking care of my health so that I can love people better. So I
Right.
open myself to hear from the Lord more. Like, what a cool,
Right. And
compelling.
we think we have all these problems, but when you get sick, when someone says
Oh,
the nasty C word, you got cancer, your whole
oh,
world stops and then you only have one problem, right?
yeah.
And yes, we're all going to die of something, but I like to say I want to go out like Rose from the Titanic at the end where she just goes to sleep and
Amen, sister.
and
Same.
she
You've
doesn't
heard a lot about sleep. You're prophesying this for yourself. Um, but hey, I will say though, there's a quote I love. It's from an author, Robin Sharma. He says, health is the crown on the well person's head that only the ill person can see.
Oh,
And it
nice.
is so true, like even for my own. So, like in January, right after I got engaged, a little bit of my story, I was told I could have bone cancer. And praise God, that was not an accurate, like it was something else autoimmune related. But for a month, my fiance and I were looking at each other like, what the heck just happened? Like, we just got
Yeah.
engaged and now we don't even know if we can get married in the next 2 years because we don't
Satan
know.
get behind me. No.
Yeah, it's like, but when I got that, I remember like my job didn't matter. Like, I love this podcast, but this podcast didn't matter. It
Right.
was like one thing and one thing
Oh
alone
yeah,
mattered.
that's all you can think about.
It's all I can think about. And so I think to what you're doing is providing people with a lifeline, whether they even think of it as that is not. It's these little changes that make like Proverbs says, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Like, I think it's Proverbs, or maybe it was Zechariah. But anyways, like don't disregard small steps, because
Right.
those.
And everything in here is free. Like, I mean, you can spend money on the gadgets and things like that. You can get like
Yeah,
the Aura ring or the watches and the this. But basically, this is all just fundamental stuff that you can do to have transformational things for your health.
yeah,
And you can also do it from a biblical perspective and see, how what God feels about it. And I only base that on the scriptures I put in there. It's not based on what Michelle thinks.
I
This
know,
is
I love that.
based on how and I'm, we all interpret the Bible a different way. But I do believe it's pretty easy to say that God would want that for us. Like,
Yeah. Well,
you
I
know,
think it's a very objective. There's some interpretations that are a little bit more subjective. I think it's when people are like, God is telling me this, and like, like sometimes prophesying all that, but like there's objective truths as well. And I think that's what I love about what you've backed up with scripture. It's like like the water, the fasting, like things that Jesus did not say if you fast, he said when you fast. And you talk
right.
about fasting in here. And like, I love Dr. Mindy, by the way, as well. I love her protocol. I do it every day. We have a lot in common. But I just yeah, I just think it's such a phenomenal resource. And so where can people find you? Where can people find the book? All the fun stuff.
So the book is on Amazon, Health Revival, and I picked health obviously because it's about health, and then revival to me is just such a great word because it's a revival, and it's so funny. Ever since I came up with that title, I've been hearing that word everywhere. Like,
Really?
the country seems to be going in that direction right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Christianity is coming back, revivals are happening in colleges and all
Yeah,
of those things. So I've
exactly.
been hearing that word a lot. And then I'm on. You can find me on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram on Michelle Cuffe Fitness. And I do put a lot of my workouts on there. You'll see me working out. Working out's like probably my favorite thing.
Wow.
I do some TV stuff here in Tampa. So the same show that Amy Schmidt does that you were
Yeah,
on her podcast. It's here
she's
in Tampa
amazing.
called Bloom. Yeah, that's where I kind of met her too. Was on that show.
Oh,
Um,
she's the best. She's actually she's the mother of a dear friend of my fiance. That's how we got connected.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
we all go to church together. So she's
yeah. She's
great. But
great. Yeah,
Michelle,
so
you
that's if you
are
can find
amazing.
me, and if you feel led to get the book, that's wonderful. But you can also just see all my tips for free on social media if you can't.
Well,
And I just hope that if somebody maybe has never thought about God in this way, that maybe they might start to think about their health in a different light, and
yeah.
maybe put the Cheetos and Doritos down sometimes, or pray, ask God, should I be eating this?
I
I
love
think
that. So
put a
practical.
picture of Jesus on your refrigerator, and every time you go
Yes,
to it,
eat the
just
Doritos. I don't think he's saying that.
although I
It
say
would not be
I
the
say
Doritos.
Doritos 'cause those are my favorite. If they told me I was going that Jesus is coming tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go get a bag of Doritos.
Oh, for me, it'd be Skittles, the ones that have the red dye, the
Oh,
cherry, all of
yeah.
it. That would be mine. I love this book. I love what you're
Thank
doing. I
you
think
for
it's so
having me,
cool.
Annie,
Of
so
course.
much.
And also for everyone tuning in, like, yes, you can listen to Michelle's tips on her socials, but this book, what's so powerful about it, it goes into such depth. And this is a great resource to give someone that maybe doesn't follow Jesus, but is super interested in their health or wanting, and like,
Hey, you just sneak it in there. You just
get
give
in
it
there,
to them,
stick
and you
it in
don't
there.
say a word.
I love how you did it. It's
And
so
I'm
powerful.
sneaky that way.
You are, but not just you're It's not even sneaky. I just think it's practical, and it's what being the light of the world is all about. So
Right.
thank you, and we are praying for
Thank
you
you
to
for having
continue to shine.
me.
Of
And I
course.
look forward to seeing your journey and your wedding and all the things, great things you have coming up.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Tell him I said that he's very, very lucky.
Oh, I remind him of it every day. Don't you worry.
Thank you, honey. Have a good one.
Thank you.